Okay. Local recording starting. So, if you don't know already, there's a 2015 tier list that's happening right now on Smashboard. So, there's going to be two types of rankings. First, there's going to be a ranking with only the top 40 of Smashboard's ranking and the top 100 of SSBM rank um, are going to have their opinions and their rankings married together, and all the averages will form a tier list. But if you're a community member and you're not part of any of those lists, then you can still create a tier list. But what will happen is you'll be combined in another list and not be included in the main one. So it's an interesting concept. I believe Civit is doing it again. I believe he's from the Midwest. Kudos to him for doing the initiative. I'm like a little bit too busy to do it myself. I had some ideas about it. Originally, my plan was to give a score of a 1 to 100 as opposed to doing a ranking of 1 to 26 because I feel like you can scale it better. So when you have two characters that are roughly in the same like tier, being like rank 5 versus like rank 10 sounds like really dramatic, where in actuality they could be really close to one another. And so by putting a scale instead of a rank, you can allow multiple characters to have the same score and give some relative distance among what you think the character's placing is. So I'm not gonna delve into like the newbie stances of a tier list. Like, granted, like the world's worst Bowser, I mean the world's best Bowser will probably beat the world's worst Fox. So a tiered list does not mean that one character always beats the other. It's a combination of things. It's making a few assumptions in the tier list. So like if the two players like know the matchup, they're of roughly equal skill, then one character should come up on top, and that's the nature of competitive gaming. No two characters are exactly going to be alike, and some characters just have more advantages. And that's not to say that one character wins 100% of the time. I think that's a misconception that people get, is that they see one example and say, well, Fox wins this 100% of the time. Or if like the Fox loses a matchup in a perceived like 60-40, it doesn't mean that it magically becomes 50-50 because one top player loses to another character. It doesn't really work like that. There's many ways that people take tier lists. So some people go heavy theoretical and they almost assume that like a TAS level of movement where like both players are making no mistakes, they're reacting perfectly, like their tech skills 100%. And some people like look more results oriented and say, well, like look at the meta and look at what's in the top 32 of every national. Look at what's representing in the top 8. And I feel like you need to balance both because you're never going to have perfect play. If you had perfect play, then Yoshi would parry everything. Fox would kill your shield and catch your roll every time you touch your shield. And there'd be really unusual situations that come out of SDIs and just quote-unquote perfect inescapable play. So I think some degree of speculation does matter. So if I look at a move and like Jigglypuff's bear or like Fox's bear and up till, I can look at the hitbox and say, wow, that's really good. Even if like I don't see it actually being used fully in competitive play. And even certain play styles among certain characters I feel like aren't being fully utilized. So I believe there are certain characters that if they played a different style or introduced a different aspect to their game, that their potential will go up. So it's a combination of many things. And then unfortunately, like even at like, so also we have to look at like what defines the tier list. Like, do we look at just tournament level play? Does that entail mid-level play? Does that entail just the peak level of play? What does it really mean? And everybody has their own definition. And even the things that make it worse is that in a lot of the matchups we don't really see certain characters being well represented. So Yoshi and Pikachu, there's like only one really outstanding player that plays each of those, and so like speculating how they do against the relevant characters, we can't really fully base it off of that one. We can make guesses and we have to speculate. So there's a high degree of subjectivity, and so without further ado, I'll go ahead and start my tier list. And I'm gonna real brief go through the bottom tier and work my way up. There's a lot of characters. I'm not gonna spend too much time because frankly I don't know the mechanics of how these characters really function. Like I don't really care about matchups that aren't relevant in the meta. So I don't really. So this is my bottom tier. Roughly the order that I'd put it in. So on the left side, I feel that these are that Roy is probably the top rung of this. But I don't really have too much justification other than gut intuition. There's going to be certain cases in tournament where we'll see like a random Kirby beat a Marth. But overall, these characters, if the other player knows what they're doing, or they just camp or cheese these characters, they can't do much, and they usually rely on one sort of gimmick. And to be honest, like if you're competent in movement and just dash dance camping, you should be able to really hit them, and they can't do anything about it. I put Pichu fourth from below because like he has actual like mobility, and he actually has some decent combos to catch even like top tier characters, and he has a chain grab, so that's why I put him a little higher. Roy might be a little too high, but I don't honestly know. I don't know how these, like, if you were to flip coins and people are gonna bash me on saying like, oh, Ness is like actually worse than Kirby or Bowser's worse than like Ness. Like the fact of the matter is these matchups happen so infrequently that honestly it doesn't even matter. And the one point I want to add is when I look at tier lists, I also try to focus on like how they do against meta relevant characters. So if your character sucks against like Fox, Sheik, Marth, and Falco, then but it's good against like other characters, then I still weigh the fact that the character's not good against certain matchups in what is commonly played today. So conversely, if your character is really good against the top tier but has some like really bad gimmicky matchups, like I'm still gonna see that very highly more than a character that does well against crappy characters but can't do anything against good players. So that's like you should never be winning with this tier against anyone remotely competent, and if you do, you're probably cheesing them in some way. So this is my next run. These are characters that like have like a few like redeeming factors to them, but I don't really think that they're that great. Mewtwo actually has like some things, and he has a really annoying teleport, so I put him there. I don't really know much about it. Game & Watch, and I forget to mention that each of these characters have like some really large like weakness to them. So DK and Game & Watch have awful shields that can just be exploited, and I know DK has the up B out of shield, but honestly just poking DK's shield is so bad, and he's so like comboable by everybody that the only thing he has going for him is just like crotch canceling and fishing for a grab or doing up B, so don't really view him that well. Link and Young Link have some potential against like top tier against floaty characters, so because like their bomb and boomerang is really good against floaties, so like Puff, Samus, Peach all struggle against like getting in on Young Link and Link, so that's why like I see them as like having some potential. Of course, everyone's gonna probably mention like, oh, Sauce beat the Moon. Link does have a decent matchup against Marth, so it's probably one of the only decent matchups he has against the top tier. They have tether grabs, so like you can abuse Link in the fact that he can't do much out of shield, and he can't even shield grab, so that's always going to hinder him, especially against characters like Fox and Falco, and any fast character for that matter. Ganondorf, honestly, I don't know how people do it with him. He's so slow, and you can create reaction windows against him that he should really never get a hit on you. But I guess if he gets a hit, then he can hit really hard if he reacts to the tech chases and whatnot. But you have to work so hard to get a hit with him, and I feel if everybody just dash dance camped the hell out of him and baited him, like Ganon can't really do much. So these are like okay characters, and they'll have their moments, but I don't really see much more beyond that. So this is kind of where it gets interesting, and this is where like opinion really this is where like opinions can start to differentiate. So people will notice that I dropped Dr. Mario quite a bit, and the reason why is I don't really think he's that good. A lot of his hits that Shroom would get is because Shroom can play in the footsies range and outplay, but you can camp Dr. Mario and Mario, and they can't really do much against faster characters. Doc and Mario get abused by up airs or strong upward aerials. So like if you even try to jump in, like you're gonna get up aired by Falcon or up aired um, by Marth, and so it's just like really hard. And then Armada and Hungrybox just showed that if you just like camp at certain heights, like Mario can't jump to like defend. So there's like really limited things about Dr. Mario. I think Luigi has some potential with the ability to trade and combo off of skirmishes. So you get a throw on a fast faller, Luigi can potentially kill you. So at least against Fox and Falco, I don't think he has like a great matchup, but like he can hold his own. So that's why like I think Luigi's like slightly better, but not much. I consider them roughly the same. Yoshi is a character that's like very interesting, and this really boils down to like how much you really value quote unquote perfect play and what's practical. But at the very least, Yoshi has tools with super armor to approach and take up space. He has really good hitboxes with that like are anti-air, so like up smash and like up air, and he has the egg stall, which I think can be really abused, and I don't think Amsa abuses it enough. So there's like little things that like I think Yoshi can abuse that hasn't really been pushed yet. But I think if Amsa were like had the Mewtwo King DNA, you'd see like egg stalling to no other, and you'd see camping like to the extent that like it would break the game. That's just a thought that I have. Granted, like he's a very technical player, and Yoshi's very technical, and that's why we don't really see him, because his game mechanics are very different, and the timing windows for pairing and a lot of the things that he does is really hard, and it's very awkward. But Yoshi could go slightly higher, slightly lower. So keep in mind in these tiers, like you can shuffle them, and honestly, I wouldn't really care that much. Samus, good tilt, has a tether grab, doesn't really combo that well. You have to like hard read and outplay to get much. I really think if Foxes and Falcos knew how to shield pressure better, like, and not just like try to spam on their shield and get up B, they would do a lot better. And I think it's a lot of just matchup inexperience that people keep getting caught. Still, this decent character. Her normals are pretty good. Down smash combos pretty well. Has a good crotch cancel, but okay, it's okay. This one is like really. This is the one I have been going back and forth on. So this is Falcon, Ice Climbers, Puff, Peach, and Pikachu. I wrote on Twitter today, I didn't think Puff was that great, to be honest. And the reason why I think Puff was even that high in the first place was because of Mango and Hungrybox. And it's more, this is like one of the toughest things about tier lists is how much do you put into play how good the actual player is behind the character, or how good the character is. And I feel like because Mango was just out of this world with Puff, that she got boosted up, and because Hungrybox kind of followed Mango, Puff was never really questioned to go lower. And a lot of people put Puff at like 4 or 5, and I would disagree with that. I think she capitalizes on mistakes, and I think she has okay splits against the top tier. So, but she clearly loses to Fox. I don't think that's a question. I think Falco slightly wins. I think Mart slightly wins. And as a Sheik main, people used to complain about this matchup all the time. But I really think it's 50-50 at worst for Sheik. And I think Sheik can actually do it. It's just that Hungrybox outplays and is just a lot better of a conditioner and zoner than most Sheik mains. And so I attribute Hungrybox winning, at the top level against good Sheiks, more so because Hungrybox is better and more experienced at the matchup, as opposed to like Jigglypuff being broken. Plup has beaten Hungrybox recently. Shroom came close, and so I really think that a lot of Sheiks are just picking up little things and just getting better, and we're gonna just see Puff exposed in that matchup. And this is coming from a Sheik main, and normally people who talk about their mains, they always complain their main sucks. So I'm trying not to have bias here. People are going to wonder why I put Ice Climber so high, and In a theoretical world, Ice Climbers isn't that very good of a character. Has limited range, has to work so hard, but and people say just don't get grabbed, and I would have believed that, but just for the fact that people like this kid Boogie can wobble players like Kirby Kaze supposedly being like a guy that's really fundamentally sound, um, spaces really well. Like the fact that that this kid can wobble him consistently, he can wobble V wins and Peach mains consistently, really makes me think like, well, how much do we value quote unquote perfect neutral game and the fact that if you mess up a little bit or get forced into an uncomfortable 50-50 for your life, like you can die. So I feel like Ice Climbers have that Zangief effect where they'll get Hadoukened and poked for like a chunk of their life, but like eventually they will get in. They will force a 50-50 and they will read you and get a grab. Granted, like players like Mango and Armada invalidate characters in this tier, but like you can say easily the same thing about other characters in this tier that Mewtwo invalidates Falcon, um, Mango invalidates Jigglypuff, SFAT invalidates Pikachu. Um, I put Pikachu in this tier because I think he's highly underrated and highly underexplored. Even with Axe being the forerunner, I think he has mobility. He has like a godlike recovery. He has a strong gimp game, and so he has a lot of redeeming qualities that I feel are very good against the relevant characters. I think Pikachu has a winning matchup on Marth. And I know he loses to Sheik. Fox and Falco, I think Pikachu slightly loses. I think he goes okay with Falcon. So with Puff, against Peach. But I really do think he has the tools of a really good character. I put Falcon at number 5 mainly because I don't think he's abused as hard as people want. Because most people play Falcon because he's stylistic. The moves are and combos are pleasing to the eye. So rather than like foregoing those cool combos, like most people would refrain from abusing Falcon's mobility in Dash Dance Camp. And when you play against a really good Falcon that just zones and doesn't commit to anything and throws out safe hitboxes, it's actually really frustrating to deal with, especially if your character can't catch up to Falcon. So I think with the movement of players like Wizrobe and Gatsu, I think we're going to see Falcon abuse. And so I put him as an asterisk at quote-unquote 5th, even though I think this whole tier is relatively close. Some people might put Falcon as low as 7th or 8th, and I'd be okay with that. But I'm looking forward in the future to see people really abuse his mobility, and I think we're going to see that really soon. A lot of people say, like, why is Peach so low and Falcon so high? Peach has been carried by Armada for years, and I just think that if Armada played any other top tier, we would see, like, roughly the same level of success. So if Armada studied Marth for a year, I think he'd have top 3 performances. We already see his Fox, but I guess Fox is top tier. So I think anything that Armada touches will, like, have top 3, top 4 performances. Not like everything, but I think he could do well if he studied the character for a year. So lastly, we have the top tier. I put it in this order. I was going back and forth on whether to put Sheik or Falco on top. The only reason why I put Sheik slightly lower, the more I think about it, is that I think Falco does okay against Fox, whereas Sheik struggles, and because Fox is so predominant in the meta, I just really think that tipped the scale in Falco's favor. Sheik hasn't been really abused yet. I think tech chasing will be really developed well, and threaten Falco. I think Sheik wins slightly against Falco, to be honest. And if she can get more consistent on the tech chasing game on Fox, then it's not going to be as bad. Sheik has a slight edge on Marth, but I think as the meta develops and Marths get cleaner on their movement and their move selection and don't get caught, I think it gets closer to even. But I'll always say that Sheik outpunishes Marth, and that's why. Just with the ability to threaten with both the grab and a hitbox at any percent and kill Marth is just so huge, and that's something that Marth doesn't really have. So Marth has to outplay a lot more, and so I'll say Marth wins a lot more of the neutral game against most characters. But the equalizer is that most good players know how to DI out of things. So like in most floating matchups, Martha's fishing for kills at 150 to 180. Martha at number 2 because I think, as the game develops, I think Marth has almost a 50-50 matchup on Fox, if not already. Does well against the rest of the cast. Has his like random struggles against low tiers. I think Pikachu and maybe Yoshi can beat Marth, but that's underexplored, and that might just be Amsa and Axe just being really good. But I really think that clean Marth play and the way that he can footsies and control space is just so good, and that's why I put him at number 2. Number 1, I put Fox, and the main reason why I put Fox is, it's Fox. Most results, most people, he consistently gets like the most like top 32 performances. Usually 30% of a national consists of Fox, which is pretty crazy considering that we have like 8 to 10 viable characters, so it definitely has its weight. Some people may argue, well, there's just a lot more Fox players, so there's going to be more people that are naturally going to place in the top 32 just with raw numbers. But Fox has consistently, like every national consistently has like 4 to 5 Foxes in the top 8 with a few exceptions. So that's my tier list. And once again, it's just my opinion. And so to remind people, anyone within the same tier, like I think is so close that if you rearrange them, like I don't have any issue with that, and I would probably agree with you. It's really close. A lot of speculation, and a lot of people are going to disagree with me, and so and that's totally fine. I think it comes down to what you view in a tier list and what you value. I hope that this was an entertaining segment for you.